In the vastness of North Dakota, a state that often looks quiet, peaceful, and far removed from the noise of big cities, there is another story that is rarely heard. Not about extreme crime or urban chaos, but about something quieter, and in some ways, more worrying. This is a story about small towns slowly losing direction. Every town on this list shares one common thread. They do not collapse all at once. They weaken little by little. This is not a list of the most dangerous towns. It is a list of towns facing something much harder to fight. Decline that is slow, silent, but certain. And behind the numbers on income, crime, and population, there is one big question. How long can a town survive before it is truly abandoned? At the northern edge of North Dakota, almost touching the Canadian border, stands Belcourt, North Dakota, a small town often mentioned not for its beauty, but for the weight of reality it carries every day. The town lies within the Turtle Mountain Reservation, and this is where the story of limitation feels most real. Poverty is high, with many residents facing economic hardship that has lasted for generations. Jobs are limited, mostly coming from the public sector, local services, or work on the reservation, making life choices feel narrow. The town also struggles with social issues, such as substance abuse, and a relatively high crime rate for a town this small. Devil's Lake has a different problem, one that is quieter but haunting, an environment that is never truly stable. The name Devil's Lake is not just a dramatic label. The lake near the town has risen drastically over the decades, swallowing farmland, roads, and even forcing the relocation of homes and infrastructure. This is not a temporary flood. It is a long-term crisis that slowly erodes the local economy. Its effects are felt everywhere. Property loses value because of flood risk. Investors hesitate to come in, and agriculture, the backbone of the local economy, keeps getting squeezed. This uncertainty makes many people choose to leave rather than stay. In terms of numbers, the median household income in the town is around $43,000, not especially low, but not strong enough to offset the environmental pressure and the rising cost of living caused by relocation and flood mitigation. In northwestern North Dakota, hidden among the Bakken oil fields, there is Tioga, North Dakota, a small town that once experienced an economic surge so fast and then was left behind just as quickly. Tioga is the real definition of a boom-bust oil town. When oil prices were high in the early 2000s, the town suddenly became crowded. Workers arrived, housing costs jumped, and businesses appeared almost overnight. Tioga even became one of the important points in U.S. shale oil production. But when oil prices fell, everything fell with them. Workers left, houses stood empty, and the local economy immediately lost its pulse. Today, the median household income still looks fairly decent at around $66,000, but that number is misleading. Inequality is high, and many stable jobs disappeared after the boom ended. Crime also rose for a time during the boom period, especially because of the temporary population surge and social pressure. In the middle of North Dakota's seemingly endless flat landscape, New Rockford, North Dakota looks like a town that is slowly being forgotten by time. At first glance, New Rockford seems quiet, an empty main street, old buildings still standing, and a slow rhythm of life. But behind that calm, there is one major problem: steady population decline. Over the past few decades, the number of residents has continued to shrink. And along with that, small businesses have disappeared one by one. The median household income here is around $43,000, not especially low, but job opportunities are very limited, mostly in agriculture, local services, or small government roles. younger people tend to leave for bigger cities, leaving behind an increasingly aging population. Crime is not as high as in other troubled towns, but that is exactly what makes the situation feel like it is quietly getting worse. In northeastern North Dakota, not far from the Minnesota border, Grafton, North Dakota stands as a small town with a past that feels bigger than its present. Grafton was once a fairly important regional center, with railroad lines, trade, and lively economic activity. Even today, the town still has facilities such as a regional hospital and several important institutions. But that is exactly what creates the contrast. The infrastructure is still there, but growth has stalled. The median household income in Grafton is around $62,000, relatively stable for a small town. But job opportunities have not expanded much beyond healthcare, education, and basic services. Meanwhile, the population is slowly declining, and like many other small towns, young people would rather leave than stay. In northern North Dakota, near the Canadian border, Rolla, North Dakota stands as a small town that feels far from everywhere, both geographically and economically. At first glance, Rolla looks like many other small towns, quiet, simple, and almost completely free of noise or bustle. But beneath that, there is a heavier reality. The town is in an area that depends heavily on the local economy and activity around the reservation. With limited job opportunities and almost no growth, the median household income in Rolla is around $49,000, fairly low compared to the national average. Jobs are dominated by basic services, local government, and work that has seen little development. The unemployment rate also tends to run higher than the state average, reflecting the limited options available to residents. Far in northern North Dakota, just a few miles from the Canadian border, Langdon, North Dakota stands as a small center in the middle of a vast sea of farmland, looking stable on the surface but fragile underneath. The median household income here is around $64,000, which seems fairly safe, but there is not much room to grow. Job options outside agriculture and basic services are very limited, leading many younger people to leave for larger cities. Langdon depends heavily on one thing: agriculture. Wheat, soybeans, and other crops are the backbone of the local economy. The problem is, when one sector becomes everything, the risk grows with it. Fluctuating commodity prices, extreme weather, and changes in the global market can all directly shake residents' incomes. Harvey brings us to another form of decline, quieter but no less real. Located in the heart of North Dakota, Harvey once played an important role as a railroad town, connecting agricultural products to wider markets. But like many small towns in the Midwest, that role gradually faded. As transportation activity declined, the local economy also lost its main foundation. Most opportunities are still tied to agriculture, local services, and a small public sector. New industries have barely arrived, making growth feel stalled. Its population has also continued to shrink. Young people leave behind an aging community and an economy moving more slowly with each year. Crime is relatively low, but that is not really a sign of progress. It is more a sign of a town growing quieter. If Harvey feels like a town slowly fading, then Wishek shows the next stage. A small community still holding on, but with less and less room to move. Located in southern North Dakota, Wishek was once known as a strong community with deep German-Russian immigrant roots. That cultural legacy is still felt today, from local traditions to the town's unique identity. But behind that, its economic reality is far from stable. Most of the town still depends on agriculture and basic services, without much economic diversification. When that one sector slows down, the impact is felt across the entire town. Wishek's population has also been declining over the long term. leaving behind a community that is smaller and older. If Wishek feels like a town starting to lose momentum, then Ashley takes us to an even quieter point, where not only growth is gone, but direction as well. Ashley is a small town with a very limited population that continues to shrink. There is no major industry, no economic surge, only dependence on agriculture and local services that continue at a basic level. The median household income here is around $42,000, but job opportunities outside the most basic sectors are almost non-existent. Many small businesses have closed over time, and like the towns before it, younger generations would rather leave than stay. Crime is considered low, but that reflects the lack of activity more than a truly healthy condition. The streets are quiet, the downtown is modest, and the rhythm of life feels extremely slow, almost stagnant. Oaks shows another version of the small town struggle, still alive, but completely dependent on one thing it cannot control. Oaks is known as a fairly active farming community. Corn, soybean, and wheat fields surround the town, making it a small center for agricultural activity in the surrounding area. At first glance, that looks like a strength, but this is exactly where the problem lies: total dependence on agriculture. The median household income in Oaks is around $67,000, relatively stable, but that stability is very fragile. Extreme weather changes, fluctuating commodity prices, and rising production costs can directly shake the local economy in a single season. Job options outside agriculture and basic services are also limited, leaving almost no economic diversification. Younger people still tend to leave, even if not as quickly as in more remote towns. Meanwhile, Carrington shows another form of a small town being held back, not by a major crisis, but by growth that never truly arrived. Carrington is often called the geographic center of the state. Ironically, that strategic position has not automatically brought an economic surge. The town remains small, with activity dominated by agriculture, local services, and a limited public sector. The median household income is around $77,000, fairly stable for a small town. But job opportunities have not expanded much, and new industries have barely entered. As a result, many young people still choose to leave, looking for broader opportunities elsewhere. Crime is relatively low, and in general, Carrington feels more safe than many other towns on this list. Bowman takes us even farther, to the southwestern part of North Dakota that truly feels remote, almost at the edge of the map. Bowman has one advantage that many other small towns do not: its closeness to the energy sector, especially oil and gas. The median household income here can even reach around $62,000, slightly higher than in the towns mentioned earlier. But like Tioga, that advantage comes with a major risk: dependence on an unstable industry. When the energy sector slows down, the impact is felt immediately. Economic activity drops, job opportunities shrink, and the town returns to its limited small-scale reality. Outside energy, job options remain narrow, mostly centered on farming and basic services. Bowman's population has also not grown in any significant way, and its geographic isolation is a real challenge. The distance to larger cities is considerable, making access to broader opportunities more limited. If Bowman still has some breathing room from the energy sector, then Rugby offers a slightly different story. A small town with a unique identity that still struggles to turn that identity into real economic strength. Located in northern North Dakota, Rugby is known as the geographic center of North America. That marker has become a point of interest and even attracts curious visitors who want to stand at the middle point of the continent. But unfortunately, that appeal has not been enough to move the economy in a significant way. The median household income in Rugby is in the range of $50,000, fairly stable, with jobs mainly concentrated in local services, agriculture, and a small public sector. The town has not gone through a steep decline like some of the others on this list, but it also has not shown meaningful growth. Its population tends to remain stagnant, and in a pattern that keeps repeating, many younger people still choose to leave. If Rugby has a unique identity but struggles to grow, then Mayville feels like a slightly more alive version, yet still not strong enough to fully break free from stagnation. Located in eastern North Dakota, Mayville is known as a small college town, home to Mayville State University. The presence of the university gives it a level of activity that many other towns on this list do not have. From student life and education jobs to a modest amount of local economic circulation. The population has not seen a dramatic decline, but it has not grown significantly either. Crime is relatively low, making it one of the safest places on this list. Mayville may not be the town with the biggest problems. In fact, it is the opposite. It sits right at the line between a small town that has been left behind and a small town that still has a chance to survive.